You're starting.
So you're going to take it off. As soon as you've taken it off, I was going to start the podcast.
Well,
So,
I was conscious I was going to be wearing the same thing across all the podcasts.
hello and welcome to the Cricket Nerds podcast. My name is Zach and I'm joined with Benji. How are you, Benj?
Great.
And I'm joined with James. How are you, James?
I'm fantastic. Thank you, Zach.
Brilliant. Now, this is our last video before the auction that's going to take place in mid-Feb. And today we are going to be thinking about Chennai Super Kings and Rajasthan Royals, who have both been in the team since the tournament since its creation. And I would say they're almost back to square one. But if we go to Chennai Super Kings, we'll see that not much has actually changed in terms of their captain and a few other players. So we'll go to Benji because Chennai is his favourite team. So Benj, talk us through.
You know what I'm hoping for this year? I've not really gone into any great detail with what players I want. I'm just looking forward to have a breath of fresh air in Chennai. For a few years, the jokes have been that if you're over the age of 35, you need to join Chennai because it's dad's army, is what they call it. Now, experience clearly has been working because obviously Chennai are the reigning champions of the IPL. But I would just love to see some fresh new blood in Chennai. In terms of retention, MS Dhoni's been retained as the captain, Jadeja as resident legend, Moeen Ali, and also Ruthraj Gaikwad, who was a fantastic opener last season. So I think that's a real good call. You've got Gaikwad to open the innings. You've got mid-order power in Ali and Jadeja and some bowling, and then a captain in Dhoni who is just an out-and-out genius of the game. What's obviously missing is fast bowling. Released Deepak Chahar, released Sardal Thakur, released Josh Hazlewood, which was the core of the team last year, and also Lungi and Gidi. So, yeah, it might be a difficult auction, I think, for Chennai because they've not got a lot of resources to go with. But I think they might actually have to pick up a few big-ticket players. I would love to see Pat Cummins in a Chennai shirt. That's my dream thing to see because he brings a bit of batting, but he brings that fantastic bowling and he always gets fantastic figures in the IPL. So I'd love to see Patrick Cummins, a bit of leadership, a bit of experience to sort of spearhead that fast bowling attack. I mean, who else do you want to see for Dad's Army or Chennai Super Kings? If you just say all the old people, I'll be upset.
I think Imran Tahir would be a good shout. He's 43 years young. No, I think in all seriousness, what you're right in what CSK need. They need a pacer. So I think a clever thing to do, because they've got a lot of experience and they can probably get an experienced overseas bowler such as Rabada, Bolt, Ferguson, someone like that. They should also try and invest in some young, exciting bowlers. I think Chetan Sakaria could be a good one. Yeah. I would also not be surprised if we saw Avesh Khan. I would also not be surprised if we saw Ravi Ashwin go to his native town because he's from Tamil Nadu. So that's very likely, I think.
Is that just because I said that I want to see Ashwin in a Punjab shirt?
Yeah, there's a little bit of that. But no, I think I do think that Ashwin could end up at CSK. He's also over the age of 30. I think he might even be 35. So I think he's perfect for the CSK vibe. The only other thing that CSK need after getting rid of, sort of Faf and all their other decent top order players apart from Gaikwad is a good top order player. Because I guess they do have Gaikwad to open, and if Moeen's slotting into that number 3 role, but they do need some solid top order players still. So Zach, who do you think slots into that spot?
Well, I was actually going to mention the openers because Chennai have historically always had good opening partnerships, and they were reluctant last season, no, the season before last, 2020, to even play someone like Gaikwad because they were going for more of an experienced option. So they like experience at the top, but they also recognize that they need someone who's going to put impetus into the innings. And I think someone like Shikhar Dhawan could be someone they look for. He's quite expensive, but he has that experience. He's a good opener. I don't think they'd go with someone like a Devdutt Padikkal, who's in a similar mold to Ruturaj Gaikwad, who looks to bat the innings and is quite young. I think they're going to go for someone who's more experienced. Maybe even Quinton de Kock could be a good option for them. I doubt they'll go back to Suresh Raina. If they do, I wouldn't be surprised because he's old as well. But yeah, I don't think they'll go back to Suresh Raina. But I think someone at the top, like a Shikhar Dhawan, is someone they'll definitely be going to sign.
Definitely needs some impetus at the top of the innings. Like a Faf could come out and hit it. Shane Watson could come out and hit it. Maybe even Devon Conway's more of a touch player as well. Maybe someone like a Rothman Powell who will just come out and slash it from ball one might be a real good fit for that as well, potentially.
I like that. Your wild card pick there. That's a good shout.
Powell.
Yeah, Rothman Powell opening, like in the T10.
I think there is someone who we haven't mentioned who has kind of flown under the radar in IPL seasons, but he's been a very good, consistent performer across IPL seasons, and that is Nitish Rana. Previously been playing for Kolkata Knight Riders. I think there was a season where he would hit a 50 and then get a duck, 50 and a duck, and he did that like 4 times over. But he can get you off to a flyer, and he's experienced now. I don't think he's ever played for India, but he could be someone who, I think he's going for 100 crore. I think that's his opening thing. Or maybe not 100 crore. I don't know what.
100 lakh or 1
100
crore.
lakh, that's the one. Yeah.
100 crore is more than the budget each team gets.
Yeah, I was going to say.
Look, let's be honest, right? It's probably going to be Paul Sterling. Like, as much as I don't want to admit it, it's probably going to be Paul Sterling.
Yeah, that would be good. Or David Warner.
No!
Yes, come on. David Warner for CSK. Let's go.
That'd be the worst thing. I hope it's Alex Hales. That's all I can say. But it's probably going to be Paul Sterling. You come out and just tonk it from ball one like he's been doing in the PSL. But anyway, what about Rajasthan Royals? What do you think they're going to do? I mean, they've not had Ben Stokes for 2 seasons because he keeps getting injured. And now they've definitely not got Ben Stokes. Do you think they'll try and they've retained Josh Butler? I mean, James, do you want to go over who they've retained and thinking around Rajasthan?
Yeah, so Rajasthan have gone for quite an interesting one. I think they also went for we want to sort of clean house a bit. So they've got Jaiswal up top, who opened for them last time. I think he's an all-rounder, so I think he can bowl a little bit. They've also got Josh Butler, who they'll open with, who is a very good wicket keeper. They've also got Sanju Samson, who will probably bat at about 3, who is also a very good wicket keeper. So as far as, varied cores of the team, they haven't got one. They've got their top 3. But they're a very good top 3. And they will almost, I think they've got one of the biggest purses still in there because, it was only Josh Butler and Sanju Samson that cost them much. I think Jaiswal was very cheap because he's uncapped. So, they can probably splash out on some good bowlers, but I think, it's been a running theme for Rajasthan that their bowling hasn't been good enough and they've lacked a bit of a middle order. A little bit like Punjab Kings, to be completely honest.
I think Rajasthan have always gone with youth, especially in the middle order. And I've talked quite a lot about experience. But yeah, they've generally gone with Indian youth. And it pays off some games and it looks amazing. You're like, wow, these kids can play. And other times it's like, actually, they could have used someone in his, I don't know, I think they've had Robin Utterper in the past, but he's played too high up the order. But someone with a bit more experience in the middle order to kind of guide the team through. And I think they'll be looking for that number 6 player, the finisher of the innings, who could take the games deep. That's what they need, because they've lacked that. That's what stood out to me over the past few seasons. And they're lacking bowlers. They seriously need to buy bowlers, spinners, fast bowlers, the lot really. But they've, like you've said, they've got the biggest purse, so they've got the money to spend with it. And when you're not having to focus on the top 3, and other teams will be paying big for those big name batsmen, they can focus on the bowlers.
I've gone overseas that fits that mould for Rajasthan. So youth has been quite good of late. Akil Hussain, young West Indian left-arm orthodox spinner, but he can whack a ball, as we found out in the recent England T20. I think he'd fit in that setup. They need a bit of pace. Do you reckon they might try and get Currans again and Jofra Archer potentially, or maybe go for something a bit different in terms of the pace side? But I think Akil Hussain could be quite a nice pickup for them.
It's interesting that you bring up Jofra Archer, actually, because I think it's worthwhile talking about this. So it was put out by Jofra or his representatives or whatever, that it was very unlikely that Jofra Archer was going to play in the IPL 2022. However, Jofra Archer has still put his name forward for the IPL 2022 auction. So this means that teams can bid on him to be part of their team for future years without the guarantee that it's going to play this season. But you could get a Jofra Archer on the cheap, banked in your team. So it's whether or not it's worth sacrificing that 8th overseas spot for someone that's probably not going to play, in the hope that in future seasons you're going to have, the MVP of IPL 2020, I believe, and one of the all-round best players to have, an amazing fast bowler who can swing a long-handled bat.
I think that is a risk that maybe some teams will be looking at. It depends on how much you value Jofra Archer. And also, we've got 10 teams now in the IPL. This is a big auction. We're not going to be seeing much change with the teams for a while. And I think if you're looking ahead to the future, Jofra Archer, mid to late 20-year-old, he's going to have lots of seasons. And if you really think he's going to win you tournament after tournament after tournament, why not? And if you can get him cheap as well, that might be key. So some teams might get some really key marquee overseas players, and then because they've got the overseas slots filled, it's okay for them to get Jofra Archer, maybe risking not being there for the season. So that's the way some teams might look at it. Yeah, I agree. Very interesting.
Brilliant. Well, that is all for our pre-auction Cricket Nerds preview, whatever you want to call it. So we will give you guys an update on how we thought each team did after the auction. But make sure you tune into the auction. Give us your thoughts on all of our videos. Drop comments as to whether you think our previews have been any good. Let us know who you want to see in your teams. I'd love to know if there are any supporters of the Lucknow and Ahmedabad teams. So yeah, just say hi in the comments. We're getting lonely down there. So yeah, subscribe, like, follow us on all social medias, and we'll catch you guys on the flippity flip.
That's the thing now. It's the thing.
It's gonna stick, honestly.